All right, so now let's look at sketching with some transformations. So we've got our parent function is root x. So I know that that starts at 0, 0 and then goes through 1, 1 and 4, 2. So I'm going to take that graph and now shift it up 1. So let's start by putting some axes on here. So I'm going to go sort of in the middle. And I'm going to put it actually on a line. All right. So now I'm going to make this one blue. So f of x plus 1, well, my normal f of x goes through 0, 0, 1, 1, 4, 2. So I'm going to move that all up 1. So my point 1, 1 moves up 1. Let's actually move it up 1. And my point 0, 0 moves up 1. So now I've taken my function and shifted it up 1. All right, I'm going to take this function that has been shifted up 1, and now I'm going to move it 2 to the right. So this same function, I'm now going to move 2 to the right. Sorry. Yep, 1, 2 to the right. All right, so there we go. Now I'm going to take that and I'm going to first, don't be fooled here. I'm not taking this graph and reflecting it over the y-axis. This happens before I move it up. So now I'll take my 0, 0, reflect it so it'll stay there, move it up 1 and 2 to the right. I'm going to take my 0.11, reflect it, move it up 1 and 2 to the right. I'm going to take my 4, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2. I'm going to reflect it, move it up 1 and 2 to the right. So notice I've taken this graph and now reflected it over the line y equals 1. So my reflection happens first, and then I move it up 1. So it looks like instead of reflecting over y equals 0, now I've reflected over y equals 1. What I was saying before about not being fooled, it's not that I've taken this graph and reflected it over the x-axis. It's that this graph itself was reflected over the line y equals 1. All right, let's look at these transformations. So I'm going to add in some axes. Now for D, I can't keep it in this form. I need to actually shift this to say, whoops. Oh my goodness. Yeah. F of negative x minus 2 plus 1. So now what this means is that I'm taking my graph and I'm going to reflect it over the y-axis and then move it 2 to the right and then up 1. So if I take 0, 0, reflect it over the over the y-axis, it stays there. I'm going to move it up 1 and 2 to the right. I'll take the point 1, 1, reflect it, move it up 1, 2 to the right. I'll take the point 4, 2, reflect it, move it up 1 and 2 to the right. So now I've taken my graph, reflected over the y-axis, up 1, 2 to the right. All right, looking at E, so I'm going to reflect it over the y-axis, move it down 3. I'm going to take all my x values and divide them by 2, and then move them 1 to the left. So I'm going to take 0, 0. When I reflect it, it stays here. I'm going to move it down 3. 0 divided by 2, still 0, and then I'm going to move it 1 to the left. Okay, I'm going to take my point 1, 1, so that would be on my original. I'll reflect it over the x-axis and then move it down 3. Take my 1, divide it by 2. That's going to give me a half as my x value, and then move it 1 to the left. Now I'm going to take 4, 2, reflect it, move it down 3, take that 4 and divide it by 2, and then move it 1 to the left. So I can see that my graph has shrunk horizontally. It's not, those points are not as spread out as they normally are. I've reflected over the x-axis and moved down 3.